Hello, everyone, and welcome to this new episode of Open Book Entrepreneur. I'm thrilled that we have Joe Graham here. He's a top closer, sales closer from Fortune 50 company, top Fortune 50 company, and also involved in helping other entrepreneurs and salesmen get into sales, understand sales, and get shortcuts so that you don't have to waste time later. So, Joe, please introduce yourself to our audience.
Awesome. Thank you, Tony. Yeah. So, like Tony was saying, I've been in sales 20 years. I'm a top closer for a Fortune 50 company. I've won multiple President Circles Award, if you look behind me there. But my mission really is to help people, whether you're looking to connect with CEOs, CFOs, C-suite, or whether you're looking to just find your ideal client and how to connect and relate with them and do sales. I also run a top 3% podcast called The Joseph Graham Show. Tons of knowledge, tons of entrepreneurs like Tony brings on that can give you wisdom that way as well.
Wonderful, Joe. So what inspired you? I know you mentioned you've been in this business for about 20 years, but what inspired you to actually get into this business?
You're gonna laugh. I got laid off. So literally, I was working in the Midwest at a factory, and I thought, oh, I'll just work my way up in management. Got married, my high school sweetheart, did that whole thing, and then about 28, they're like, oh, we're laying people off, and I was working in a factory, going to school, and I had kids, so I had to find a job. So I literally fell into sales. I didn't choose sales; sales kind of chose me. But then within the first week, I sold a roof for like 11,000, and I got 1,100 bucks. And at that time, it blew my mind because this is 20 years ago. I made 1,100 bucks. I wasn't making 1,100 bucks in 2 weeks at the time. And that just changed my perception. Now I'd be a little bit annoyed if I'm only making 1,100 bucks off a deal. But at the time, it was great.
Yeah, I mean, this is so interesting, and the reason why I'm smiling here as well is because most of the time when I'm like speaking to the top experts, around sort of how did they get into the business they're doing, and it's their passion, and they found themselves and everything. Usually it's this kind of thing, like something happened and I just accidentally got into it, So
Yep, yep.
it's interesting how you were actually working in this factory, everything was sort of pretty much sorted and stuff, and then you got laid off, and that was probably like a disaster at the time, yeah.
hmm
But then it brought you to where you are today. So tell us a little bit about this story, like so you started selling these roofs, and you made like $1,100 commission the first week, and then what happened since then?
I would love to tell you in that story there was rainbows and unicorns, but there was a lot of failure, there was a lot of setbacks, there was a lot of step two forward, step one back because business sales, it doesn't matter what you're doing, you have to connect and build your brand. You have to get people to like you, to trust you, and to believe in you, and that takes time. So over 20 years, I've sold multiple different things to now I actually sell telecom with T-Mobile. I've sold fiber with Spectrum. I've done that whole gambit. But the thing that I've learned is sometimes take a step back to launch yourself forward. People don't like to hear this because the long game is the shortcut. So, like anytime you take a new role, start a new business, you're going to have to rebuild what you're doing because you can take the wisdom and knowledge you had, but it doesn't always mean the clientele and stuff you're doing is going to be there. So, that's something I always want to remind people of. Don't overestimate what you do in a year, but don't underestimate what you can do in 5 years. Because if you get into a new role and stay more than 2 years in sales for sure, you're a legend because all these salespeople you see on LinkedIn all the time. I'm with X company. Then 3 months later, I'm with X company. Then a year later, I'm with X company. If you stay in that same sales role, you become the expert if it's over 2 years. If you stay in the same business and you're building and you don't become a new different coach each and every month or every 6 months, you again become the expert because there's so many people flipping and flopping. Consistency over time equals profitability and winning.
Yeah, and how do you, sort of like help people overcome this issue? Because I see a lot of business owners, a lot of coaches, a lot of online entrepreneurs as well. Like they really want to make sure they can, first cover the cost, then make the profit, then grow from there.
Mhm.
That's sort of the on the backbone of the business is like the future growth. What is happening right now is one of the burning issues.
Yeah. Well, for me, it's always a long game. And when I say that, What did you start the business for? We're going to go into their mental aspect of why they're in business or why they're in sales. If they're just in sales to get money and make money, I'm going to tell them just do B2C because you can just hit as many people as possible. You're selling a product, they say yes, no. If you want to actually develop a business or a brand, it's going to take time, Tony. It's not going to be an overnight thing. So do you have the first 6 months or a year in like savings to cover your butt so that you can actually grow and help your ideal client? If you don't, do it on the side, do it as a hybrid, tell people you're doing a beta, and then people will give you grace. Because like I did this recently, I did an ideal client beta group and I charged $1,000 for it, right? And I said, hey, this is a beta group. So if this is a beta group, people are going to all of a sudden go, oh, it's not perfect yet. So I'm going to give this guy grace. I already knew what I was doing. I did that on purpose so that if something happened along the process, I fix it. That's some of the stuff I teach my people. The other thing is I help them find who their ideal client is because if you're spraying bullets everywhere, for lack of a better term, just like you're here one day and you're here the other day, you're doing all this other stuff, people don't get comfortable with you. They don't understand what you're doing. But if you know, I deal best with 25-year-old male athletes. And I went super niche there. I know I did. But I do actually have a client that he helps special people like athletes get into doing their thing. He knows who he wants to talk to. So first you gotta know who you want to talk to. Second, does your message resonate with them or you? Because if your message is about you and your services and your products, you're going to lose. They do not care. But if it's about you, Tony, I'm like, hey, Tony, what is it that you want to accomplish here? And I focus on that. Now I've just niched down two different ways to the point that I help them guide to the process of value versus cost. So if your value is at least 4 times better than the cost, normally they'll buy. And then also follow up. This is the thing that I've made so much money because everyone's trying to get that one close, one call close, that one blah, blah, blah. I've done some of them before. They're kind of cool, but they're not consistent. They're harder to do. And then you can burn people if you push them too much. But if I build a relationship with you and I answer all your questions and I take care of you, now, Tony, we have a partnership. Now you know I'm going to help you through the process, but I also follow up through implementation as well.
Wonderful. And what's one of the major tips that you can share with someone who is struggling in sales right now?
Don't give up. It's always darkest before dawn. You got into this because you had something inside of you that either A, you want to make a bunch of money, which you can do in sales. B, you wanted to change the world. Three, you're just a little bit crazy like I am. But remember that like anything you do takes a little bit longer than you might think. And you only can control your variables. So like I can only control my inputs. I can control my calls. I can control my emails. I can control my social media outreaches. So set ceilings and floor. Every day, no matter what, you're going to at least touch 50 new people. On a good, that would be your floor. On a good day, it could be 2, 3, 400 people because again, a lot of this, especially online, is them getting to know you, you getting referrals, people reaching out. And here's the other secret. Half the time when you do a social media post and you might not get any comments on, hey, I want help, but look at your DMs and check your messages that you're not friends with because a lot of times they don't want to admit they need help, but they'll DM you as well.
Yeah, totally. And then on top of that, like, what's your goal for next 1 year?
My 1 year goal is to get my house paid down a little bit more. That's the only debt I have. I'm going to be doing a half marathon in September in Kauai, which I love to do. But my goal really for my business is just to help who I can help. I'm super selective because I'm a hybrid, so I'm a little bit different than probably a lot of the entrepreneurs you have on here because I do have a day job working with this 300 to 1,000 employees. I get a kick out of talking to CEOs of multi-million-dollar companies and getting them to do stuff. Um, but the sales stuff, it's just to grow that with the people I want to help and help them reach their goals, and then to get my podcast to top 2% because that's kind of just the next level there. Um, but yeah, just help people and have fun and be selective about it because that's the other secret. If I don't have to take you on as a client, then I can always pick the people that I actually work best with to get the best results for them because I'm not chasing the money. I
Yeah,
know you don't like hearing that, people, but I'm not chasing money. If you can set it up to where your business or selling solution is set up to the people you can really help the most, it makes it so much easier. And then you can walk away from those deals that we've all signed up for that burn us in the end because like, oh, Tony, I shouldn't have talked to that. I should not have taken that client, but I needed that 5K or whatever it was, you know?
Totally. Okay, and if someone wants to actually find out a little bit more about you, connect to you or something else, like how they can do that?
Sure. The Joseph Graham Show's the easiest way. That's my podcast. On social media, it's Joe Graham Real on everything but Facebook. On Facebook, it's Joe Graham, but the pictures are all the same. And then on LinkedIn, it's Joseph Graham because they don't let me put Joe Graham Real on LinkedIn. They want me to use my real name there. So
Okay, wonderful, excellent. Yeah, thank you so much for being a guest, Joe. Thank you for sharing your story and your wonderful tips as well. Thank you for watching and listening to this episode. If you liked it, drop us a like and subscribe, and see you all in the next episode. All the best and bye bye.